Today we're going to be looking at a Volvo 2007 880 model with the D16 engine and an 18-speed auto shift. Let's take a look around the truck. As we go around this 880, we're going to be paying attention to the body condition, going to be marking any scratches or blemishes here on this form. And of course I've got my inspection list. Both of these documents are downloadable from my website. I'll be filling those out as I go. There's the truck we're going to look at today. Volvo 880, D16 engine, 18-speed auto shift transmission, lift axle, heavy rear ends, and they call this the ocean blue color. 880 is pretty recognized because it doesn't have the lower fairings. All the chrome and tanks have been exposed. Pretty sharp looking truck. From the factory they have extra LED lights installed. You'll note that there are some small paint blemishes, and we'll take a closer look at this truck and do our own inspection to determine if this would be a good candidate for becoming an RV hauler. Starting here on the driver's side, I'm going to point out certainly there's some paint, rock chips as you would expect, and as always the driver's side headlight is hazed more than the passenger side. As usual, that's because of gravel coming up off the road. Around the grill, of course, we've got rock chips, and that would have to be fixed up. Those blemishes don't look all that great. And we've got, again, on the driver's side as usual, there's always more rock chips on the driver's side than the passenger. One of the quick observations I had while standing here next to the truck, as you can hear, there's an air leak coming from the left front driver's side tire. And we'll take a look at that when we get underneath the hood. So the next things I'll point out for blemishes is here on the passenger side. Certainly that's pretty obvious. There's some paint that is peeled away. That's generally hidden when the hood pulls down over top of it, but you do see it. The other really small things that I'll point out on the passenger side, and it's probably hard to see here in the light, but you can see that the truck has gone along some branches over time. Now that's only in the clear coat, so I know that those little minor scratches, we can buff those out with our detailing equipment. And also looking here a little further back along the sleeper, you'll see that the decals have been removed, but the little edges of the decals are still there. So we're going to have to take decal remover, make sure all the adhesive is taken off, and then power polish that as well. When I look at this truck also, we've got lots of stainless and aluminum exposed. This truck would really do well if we were to take those steps off and power polish, sand and polish all that aluminum down. It would really stand out and shine. Of course, with all the chrome we've got across this, it would look sharp. Also on my inspection report, you're going to see a few other little blemishes. Here on the fenders that exist, there's a good sized dent in the top of that one, and the other fender on the leading edge, there's a dent as well. Back of the sleeper, really pristine. There's one mark right there, one chip, but other than that, this looks really good. Certainly the stacks are in good condition if they were going to be left as duals, but also you can see that there's a few little dimples in the back of the exhaust here. Top of the hood is in very good condition. Of course, this is a flat nose truck, so it's pretty hard for the rocks to get up on top of the hood, but it looks fine. Those little, by the way, those little tiny black marks, that's just a little bit of dust and dirt. Okay, we've looked closely at the belts, and the belts, I think the belts are in very good condition all the way around. I'm not seeing any significant cracking. Looking at all the hoses and electrical on this side of the truck, looks good as well. As we look a little further back on the truck, you will see So we've definitely got an oil leak right there, and it is oily back onto the compressor, and there's a good collection of oil down below. It's wet right now, so that is something that would have to be dealt with and investigated. The rest of the truck, looking at the heat shielding on the firewall, looking at the steering, the rest of the truck very, very dry, so we're not seeing anything noticeable here. Also, a good thing to look at on these Volvos are these inner fenders. They will often, if the truck has been off-road at all or had a tough life, these will get beat up pretty quick, and these ones look very good. I'm here under to the front of the driver's wheel, and you can see on the oil pan there's a fair bit of oil leaking. I've also got right here on the front edge of the oil pan, I got a leak as well. I haven't been able to find that air leak. It's right up here inside the frame somewhere, and you can definitely hear it. I'm going to scoot over to the passenger side of the engine now, and what I noticed was they didn't take the time to take the plastic covers off the oil filters. They're still hanging there, so that's what that clear plastic is. In one of my earlier videos I said if there's ever an oil leak underneath the truck, it'll accumulate over time, and if you look back towards the front air tank there, the front of that tank is just covered with oil and dirt. It would have to be, fix the leak and steam that off. I'm under the driver's side fuel tank now, and I'm looking at those tanks, the air tanks, the front and the two supply tanks. Got some wires that have fallen down and broken through. I don't know where that's supposed to go to. I haven't traced it yet. I can see right there on the number 2 drive axle, the differential is leaking underneath. Of course, that's the one that's going to be eliminated when we single it, so I'm not so concerned about that. Let's take a look up underneath here at the transmission. Looking at the transmission just rear of the engine, and you can see that there's some leaking around the filter, and there's our accumulation of oil that's been dripping down underneath the oil pan. Again, I'm under the driver's side fuel tank. I'm on the driver's side, looking up between the sleeper and above the fuel tanks. You can see a little bit of my leaking. I've inspected the exhaust all the way along to the back, and it's all in good condition. I don't have any leaks or loose points or visible exhaust leaks that I can find. I've opened up the battery cover, and the batteries are obviously very new. Looking at the bus bars and the connections, I don't see any corrosion. There's actually very little dust inside here, so they've been sealed off quite well. One thing that's important to look at on these batteries is you'll see that not only are there the main supplies that go to the truck, but there are a number of smaller, in this case you see that little white wire. Many times those are very integral to the operation of a truck. If you look on a Volvo 670, without those clean and connected, many times your transmission can have issues. So these ones look really, really good. I'm here under the passenger fuel tank, and I don't see any dents. All my lines are in good condition. And looking up, now we're going to take a little closer look at our drive shaft. We're up, tucked underneath the sleeper now, looking towards the front of the truck. There's my air dryer. I've looked at the condition of lines, that everything is very well tied up. I've ran along quite a few of them to make sure that we don't have any wear or breaks in shielding. The loom looks good, and sighting along our drive shafts, I've been looking to make sure that they've been maintained and greased, and these ones certainly have been. Let's look backwards now. We're looking at towards the back of the truck now. Of course, I can't tell too much, but the condition of that steady bearing looks to be quite good. And of course, I'm looking right now at the lift axle. That's going to have to come off for our purposes, but that should be removed quite easily. Doing an inspection here, continuing our drive line and axle inspection. We look at our torque arm condition to make sure that these aren't worn at either end. Both sets are good. You can see that the lines are all still well tied up. I'm not seeing much that's been rubbing or worn. I'm going to try to do a brake inspection next, just to see how the shoes are looking. We use a mirror and we look into that little hole. Now I can't hold the flashlight at the same time, but the brake shoes appear to be in good condition too. They're pretty good. Next we go through all the electrical, checking lights, signals, headlights, and all the lighting operation. And we continue with our light check. You can see those are hazed and burnt out. Looking at the glass, it needs to be replaced. Not only do we have quite a few chips, but you can see there we've got a crack as well. That wouldn't pass the safety inspection. You'll notice I got all the lights turned on. However, I've got all the switches on the dash turned on as well, but the lights along the side, these LED lights, are not working, so they would have to be looked into.